Hello juniors and welcome back to Computer Systems and Programming. For this video, we're going to be going over an example final project. So I've come up with a final project here that I'm going to do. Obviously, if I do it, y'all can't do it because I'm showing you how to do it. But I will be going through this example project through each of the steps. So objective, pseudocode, and code. This will be a kind of longer video, so you don't need to watch this video. This is just if you need help going through the programming process and you want to understand, get another example of how to do this. So that's what this video is for. So I've got my example project here. What I'm going to be doing is I can export these emails from Gmail, and what I want to do is remove everything that isn't just their email. I just want everyone's emails, none of the brackets, none of the names. Now obviously I could do this easily by just deleting and then deleting this, but with Python it'd be a little bit easier because I can automate it. So if I have thousands of emails, I don't have to do all that typing away and deleting. I can just run my program and it'll go through it. So let's start with a new file and we can do our project process. So what is my objective? And that's to reformat exported Gmail emails. That's the goal, is to be able to reformat the exported Gmails. Now, what do I need to do? Well, first I need to import the .txt with the emails. I'll need to store the emails in a list. What else? What am I going to need? I'm going to need to export the emails into the, I'll say, fixed emails into a .txt. What else will I need to do? I will have to export the Gmails, import, store them, export them into another. What else can we do here? Oh, we'll have to reformat them. So deleting the names and brackets. Or those aren't brackets, those are less than and greater than signs. So I'm going to make this a function. I'm going to say import a function. I'll make another function that will export it, so I can just call those. This will probably be done in the main part of the program, and then I'll reformat them. Why not? We can make a function to reformat the emails. So now we can get to the pseudocode. And what are we going to do? Let's make a function. Well, we can't call it exactly import, but we can say take data. We can call it that. There'll be a list, because I know that there'll be a list that I need to send with it. So I will open the open export.txt. I will store or I will read lines into the list. So I'll store storing the lines in that list, and then I will return the list. So that's easy. Just did that. Now let me define, we can format the stuff. So this will take that same list, and I'll have to loop through each item, and we'll say we'll use dot split to we'll split on this is a function for strings, so we'll take our string and we'll dot split on this space, so then it'll delete that or it'll kind of turn that into, what dot split does is it returns a list of whatever string split. So if I take if I say Michael is awesome, this is for an example. If I make this string str and then I do string dot split on is, and I store this in a list at index 0 would equal Michael space, and list at index 1 will equal space awesome. So this is what dot split does. It splits a string into however many things. So if there was multiple is's, it would split it multiple times. I'm only going to need to split once because since I have this list already separated line by line, I can separate space by space by space, and it'll give me the name in one and the email in the other. So if I store this in a temp list, because we already have list that's being imported up here, so I'll have to make a new list, and we'll say temp list. I know that at index 1 is going to be the email because the name, and actually there'll be multiple because look, there's spaces in the name. So I actually won't be able to split by spaces. I'll have to split by something else. But I can split by this, the bracket, because there's only one of those in each one, so it'll split correctly. Then once I know that it'll be at index 1, I can do dot replace, which replaces something with another thing in a string, so I can replace the closing bracket with literally nothing. I just won't put anything in that string, and it'll get rid of this. And then I can assign that to email. And so that will be the new email that is completely right. And actually, I don't want to store it in a variable because I have to do this for the whole list. So I'll make a new list, and instead I'll do new list dot append, and I'll append this email. Then this loop will repeat through each of the items there. And then I can return the new list. So now that function is done. Now let's make a function to export it. So we're gonna actually have to define as read because we only want to read this file. And in the and we'll call this write data. And we'll take that same, we'll actually take new list. We'll open what file? We'll do, what can we call this file? New data.txt. And then we'll open as, what is that? Write. We'll write it. And then we'll make another list. Loop through, we'll do a for loop through new list. And for each thing in new list, we're going to do, I I forgot to name these files. And we'll do f.write, and in this file we'll write the new list at whatever index we're at. And then that's good. So then we can return, and we can just return a string that says done, so that we know that it got through it and it didn't crash or anything. Now that we have our three functions, for the actual, now we're on to like actually programming the thing. So we'll have to make a list. We'll have to call take data, I think is what we called. Yep, take data, call that, and we'll send that list in. And actually we won't need a list. We'll make a list in this one. We'll make a new list in this one, and we'll just have list equal whatever take data returns. But then we'll do list, we'll update that list with format. So we'll send in the old list, and then once it formats it, we'll store that format in the new, we'll overwrite that list. Then we can do write data, and we'll send in that list. And actually, let's call this new list so that we don't get ourselves confused. Write data on new list, and we'll say print, because this returns a string that tells us it finished. And then so this should work. Essentially, it gets the data, it formats it, and then it writes it into a new thing. So there we go. We've got our objective, our pseudocode. Let's go ahead, and now writing the project should actually be pretty easy. We go PyDev module. We'll say example project. And let's just copy and paste this pseudocode right in there. Some of it will throw some errors, but we can fix that easily. Let's see, most of it actually works. So f equals file equals open export txt. And actually this is, there we go. So now we read lines into list. So then we'll say list equals f.read lines. There we go. Delete that. And then we'll return the list. Theoretically, that's all we have to do for that function. Let's see what these errors are. Well, we'll just continue on and see if those errors go away after some time. So this is an error because we already have a .format function. So we'll just call it our own format function. And we'll say we got the new list. We're going to loop through each item in the list. So for x in list, we're going to say temp list at x dot split by there. Then we'll new list dot append temp list at 1, replacing the thing with a thing. And then finally, once we're done, we'll return the new list. That looks like it'll work to me. Now we'll write the data. We'll take that new list. We're going to open new data.txt with the write parameter. We'll say for x in new list, f.write, file.write, new list. Oh, you know what we also didn't do? we gotta do f file.close. We gotta close that file afterwards. So then we'll do f.close and return done. Think that'll work? Oh, what happened to our last line here? We missed this one. So now, theoretically, it works. If we save it and we run this project, we'll see any errors we have. So, what's the error? f.readLines. So this text.io object has no read lines. Oh, that's because there's not supposed to be a capital. It's supposed to be lowercase. Let's run it again. New list at x. So what does this say? String indices must be integers. Oh, okay. So instead of doing this, we just put x, because this is item. So for item in x. So there we go. Run that, and then done. So it looks like it worked. We got our new data.txt. Oh, that didn't look right. Look at that, didn't do what we were hoping it to do. So let's go ahead and close this. What happened here? So it looked like it wrote the wrong thing to me. So why don't we run this in debug mode? Because then we can see what these variables equaled at each different part. So we'll put a couple breakpoints just there and there before that happens. And let's run this thing. So we have, let's step over this and go to the last line. So it seems to be something wrong in new list. New list seems to be a bunch of not the right thing, whatever that is. New list doesn't even seem to be a list. Yeah, that's not right. This isn't what new list should equal. New list should be like old list, but with... So let's see what's happening here. Attribute error string object has no attribute append. So maybe, what does add do? So let's look this up. We're trying to add to, we'll do Python add to list. There we go. Append and extend. Adds its argument as a single element to the end of a list. Well, new list is a list. I wonder why it's... Let's add a couple of items in here. Let's add Michael. Let's see how. And we'll add Williams. I'll just put my last name. Now let's try running this. Wait a minute. There we go. Let's close that and run this fresh. There we go. So now let's actually go through. Whoa. Oh. You know what's happening? We forgot to change our name. So we just called format instead of function. We need to call our format function list. So there we go. Now we can get rid of this stuff because that was just for debugging. Now let's just run it normally and see if it works. Oh no. Lists indices must be integers or slices, not strings. Oh, again, same problem as down here. Instead of using, I don't need to say list at x because x is technically the item itself. So x dot split. So now let's run it again. There we go. It seems to be done. Let's go back to regular mode, look at new data, and there we go. So to prove a point, we can even delete this file, delete, and then we can run this project. A new file should have popped up, and it's got all my emails. So there we go. I had my problem. I wanted to reformat some emails. I wrote an objective, the points I need to hit, the pseudocode. I have all the correct functions. I need to, I have all the stuff. I need a function that returns something. I need a loop. I got those. And then I wrote my final code. This project might be a little bit on the easier side, but it is using the open and closing functions, or the file writing. So I might accept a program similar to this skill, but I would expect like a longer list of stuff and maybe a more complex formatting thing. So instead of just typing the email, maybe reformatting it in a different way. So I would expect something maybe a little bit harder, but this is just an example project. And I went through the whole process. So this would technically be a complete project. If you do something similar to this, you're definitely on the right track. I hope this helps explain some things. Oh, actually, you know what we didn't do? We didn't write the functions or the comments. So this opens the data file and reads the data into a list. This formats the data into the correct format. So we can put an example. Inputted data looks like this. And outputted, I think there's supposed to be two T's. I don't know. Data looks like this. Boop. So that explains the function, I think, fairly well. And then this writes the formatted data into a new text file. There we go. So now we've added functions. None of these are too complex. Maybe this one, but overall this is a pretty small program, so it wouldn't be complex. I could have not put these things in functions and just had them down here instead, and then I would expect some comments above each block of these codes. So if these weren't in the function, I would definitely say put a block of code above it, but I'm not going to put comments above. Oh, sorry. If these weren't in a function, then I would say put some comments above it, not code. Put some comments above it. But since I have these functions, I'm already kind of commenting the code block. So again, I hope this kind of explains some things for you and helps you through the programming process a little bit. Again, if you have any problems or questions with your final project, feel free to reach out to me, and I'll be glad to help you work through your project. All right, juniors, I will see you later.